turned our primary residence into a rental property because we bought in 2004. No need to tell any more than that. Enjoyed people just mailing us money, so we went out, bought a few more rentals, just like all the books said to do it. Didn't really go so well, kind of got in a holding pattern for a couple of years. Went full-time in January of 2010 when my former JOB decided I did not need to work there anymore, and I thought that they were right. So at that point, I started looking into doing flips and stuff, and been working on that ever since. So, challenging location. What makes a challenging location? First thing people think about if you're going to have an issue with your house is what your neighbors are. So, in this particular house, here are some of our nice neighbors. This here is the Greater Lords Sanitation Department, and you can't tell this is the MBTA. So those are train tracks. Literally, if I was standing at the back of the house, the train tracks would be closer than the Meridian. Oh. So, give it up for Jeff. Tech guy. All right. So, challenging location.
At least by being near the sanitation, you knew things were clean.
Somebody asked me if it was on septic. One of the potential buyers asked that. I'm like, no. I'm like, all right. So anyway, so challenging location, as I said, being across the street from the sewer pumping station, that's a challenge. Train tracks running through the backyard, that's a challenge. It also happened to be in the flight path of the Lawrence Municipal Airport. And besides the sewer plant, there was actually a lot of like industrial warehouses and garages and stuff if you went to kind of like the end of the street and the next street over. And even when you got out to the main street, it was pretty commercial. In other circumstances, I probably would have put the close to restaurants and shopping, but that was not really going to fly with this one. And it was also right on the border with Lawrence. You know, anybody who's familiar with that, not exactly one of the more desirable communities in the state. But this is how bad the place was. That's clearly the fifth worst thing. Alright, so how did I find this, Jeff? So, I have two small children, so the whole getting up early to work thing doesn't work. Also can't do much work during the evenings, so I do a lot of work late at night. So I was fishing around for properties. I was on auction.com, and I came across this one. I was like, and it was extremely cheap for a very nice town, so it caught my eye. This was roughly 11:30, 12 o'clock on Saturday night. The auction ended on Sunday, so I was not going to have a chance to go see this property. But people who know me and have talked to me know that I probably would have gone and seen it anyway. I want to end people's unhealthy obsessions with thinking they actually have to see a property before they offer on it. You're not going to make nearly enough offers if you do that. Now, I would never buy a property until I've actually seen it, but just throwing an offer out there, I do that all the time. So, like I said, even if under different circumstances, I still probably wouldn't have gone. Anyway, so there were no bids. The opening bid was like 60. I might have the numbers slightly wrong. It was like 63.5 if I remember correctly, and it had actually been listed on the MLS for 109.9. So I was just like, well, you know, I'll throw something at that, like put in the minimum bid and see what happens. Well, what happens is there were no other offers. So that was actually the winning bid for the auction. I immediately was ecstatic because it's like, wow, that seems like I got a really good deal. How did that happen? Talked to my contractor. We went and walked in Monday morning before I actually had to wire funds. One nice thing about the auction ending over the weekend is they're like, oh, you have to wire in your funds. It's like, how am I supposed to do that on a Sunday? So I had until Monday afternoon basically to get that, and so I had brought my contractor there. So figured it must have had a ton of work. I actually just did I do sight unseen scopes of work to kind of estimate what I think the rehab's going to be based on pictures and square footage and stuff like that. So I was going in figuring I was going to need 68,000 plus for a fairly small house. It was only not even 1,100 square feet. Got there, saw the location, figured the ARV was probably around 250 to start, knocked it down about 100K as soon as I pulled up to the house. But it was in way better shape than I expected, so the rehab didn't have to be nearly as much. So, knowing what this property was, you know, we did adjust what we thought we were going to do to it. So, without going into great detail, this was just the brief scope of work.
Lipstick on the pants.
Exactly. So, if you have a challenging property, you don't over-rehab. The resale value is limited. No matter what you do to it, it's going to be limited. You've got to, you've got to do what you need to do if there are like, structural problems, system problems, like, things are broken. You got to fix them, obviously, and you have to make it clean, safe, and attractive. High-end finishes will not get you more money, and they're likely not even going to help you sell it any faster. And actually, in some ways, I'd say it's dangerous to start putting in nice stuff because you're going to get lured into thinking that you can get more for it, and then you're going to overprice it, and it's going to be that much harder to sell. Because at the end of the day, with granite countertops, it's still across the street from the sewer clean. You need to find that special buyer who doesn't mind that. So, what I did actually do it. So before, so we have not the greatest color. Those are asbestos shingles. For the most part, they're in reasonably good shape. Would I have liked to have vinyl sided over the entire thing and make it look clean and pretty? Yes, that was on the budget though. Nice 70s tub, pink, brownish pink tiles there. This is actually a garage. One of the most expensive parts of this whole stupid project was knocking that thing down and putting it in like 3 dumpsters that were really heavy. These are the upstairs bedrooms. There were actually 4 bedrooms upstairs. Terrible floor plan. Every single one of them was like oddly shaped and small and stuff. And 3 of them didn't even have heat. This is the only heat source for the upstairs. So 1 bedroom had this like open vent in a closet. This room, you can't really see as much. There's wallpaper there. That's hardwood that had carpet on it. The little specks you see there are carpet pads that are still attached from the cat urine. And then this one, you can tell there's wallpaper there a little bit better. I also wanted to include this one because it's a snazzy modern light fixture. It's modern because it has the CFL bulb.
And it's snazzy.
It's pretty snazzy. So, afterwards, so what we did here is we actually cannibalized the shingles that were on this part to fix a couple of the ones that were broken throughout the rest of the house. So, again, so it looked kind of attractive, not too ghetto by having like cracked shingles like, at eye level in the front of the house. And we put just this vinyl siding. It's actually a little patio there, so the contrast actually works pretty well. Redid the bathroom. Well, I should say we redid the bathroom. That's the same tub and the same tile, we just recolored it. Put the shower doors on, cleaned it up a little bit. As opposed to just showing the unpaved one-part parking space that was the garage. It's actually a picture. I didn't have a good before picture of the kitchen for some reason. So we redid the kitchen. Well, again, redid the kitchen is too strong a word. Original cabinets, original countertops. That is a mid-level laminate flooring that was in very good shape, so we didn't change that. We painted everything. We did put down that molding. Did a few touch-ups here or there. And I did buy new appliances. I did go stainless steel because it cost me all of like $150 more than if I went with the cheaper ones. I didn't even replace the microwave. For some reason, they had like crappy white appliances and like a nice stainless steel microwave, so like it works. So I kept it. Generally, I probably would have replaced that if it was because it was the cleanest thing. We cleaned it up. It looked okay. And I also like to have matching appliances with the same brand or something. Again, let's stick on a pig. Didn't worry too much about that. Can't tell quite as much here. So these are the upstairs bedrooms again. This is actually the one that has that heating grate. That's actually the closet there. You can see there. That's an actual heating grate. So it's actually venting into the room. And we took that and we put ones in the other rooms too. So now we actually have heated bedrooms. That's the kind of nice upgrade that we're doing in this kind of place. This is actually the exact same picture angle that we had on the one there. So now it's painted, new carpet down there. It doesn't smell like cat piss anymore. And as I said, it started out with 4 crappy bedrooms. We actually made a master suite where we took the best bedroom and the worst bedroom and basically combined them, making it about 30-40% bigger, added a nice double closet. There was a pretty big, as you can see, there's kind of a big pitch to the roof there. So behind these closets actually is some eaves, so like going across almost about 2/3 of the length of the house is a nice little storage space there. So there actually wasn't much storage before, so we actually ended up with a decent amount there. So that was nice, that was helpful. This was a tough one. So this is the heating system that was there. Basically, it's like an old coal furnace that's like 120 years old, that at some point somebody put a gas line and a fan on. You open that up, you could make Schwartz. It was awesome. Like it was like open flames. So this was a tough one, because it worked. And it definitely, it's not going to break. That thing ain't going nowhere. It's like that. It's probably been there for 100 years. huge. It was like the size of my car. So that was definitely something we made exactly how we wanted to handle that. So this is how it started. This is how it ended. Didn't do it. So that was a calculated risk because that is a big deal. Like it had a sticker on it saying it was like 62% efficient. One of the home inspectors like, there's no way in hell this thing is 62% efficient. But we figured, so first of all, like I said, the thing was huge. There was no way that thing was coming out without hacking it to pieces. So it was just like the labor charges to be able to do that. You know, probably could have gotten some money for the scrap, but it would have been really hard and really expensive to get it out of there. Probably would have had to replace a lot of the duct work because it was so old and weird and oversized, plus obviously the price of getting the new furnace and stuff like that. I did make a decision that if this was the deal breaker, I would do something about it, but I wasn't just gonna do it. So what was our marketing strategy? Price it right. Terrible location, needed to be priced accordingly. If the place was a mile away from where it would have been like a $280,000 house. Even the way I had it, like without doing probably would have had to do the heat system for that. But everything else that I did still probably would have had it like 250, 260, 270 easy. Around here, I listed it for $159,900. So similar properties in town at that price point were uninhabitable REOs and short sales. My favorite one, this was actually the place that was probably the closest in like size and price at the time that I listed it. It suggested bringing a mask for the smell.
Nice.
This was my direct competition. So, how did we sell it? I got, not shockingly, got a lot of inquiries at that price point. Actually ended up with over 50 showings, and it was only on the market for 68 days for a place that was in that challenging location. It's not that bad. I had 2 offers on it. The first one fell through at the inspection. They actually did note that they were a little concerned about the heating system. You know, they were really young, and it was one of those deals. They seemed okay with it, and then their parents came over and they talked for a while. They got their inspection report and they just asked for the deposit back. Didn't even negotiate. I was like, oh well, you know, what do they want done? Would they want a credit? They're like, no, they just don't want to do it anymore. So I think that was one of those parents talked them out of it sort of thing. Which, you know, I'm not saying it was necessarily the wrong thing for them, but you know, I was too happy at the time.
Yeah.
But actually, almost immediately, I got another offer. It was actually higher. It was only, like I said, I looked at it at $159,900. It came in at $159,000. I did have to give them a credit, and we did do some repairs. So here are the financials on this.
Sean, what they want for repairs?
Basically they wanted the roof, which was actually something that came up with some other people too. It was definitely old. It was not leaking, and you know, but I have no idea how old it was.
So how much did that cost you?
So it cost $5,500. But they actually, so what I was going to say when I go through this is there was a $2,000 credit. Originally it was a $4,000 credit, but we agreed to reduce it to by $2,000 because I did that repair. So there's only $3,500 out of pocket. But I sold it, which is the key. So buy price. So it's weird. On auction.com, they put whatever their premiums are into the buy price as opposed to like a line item on the HUD. So it's actually, you know, that was more than what my bid was, and that includes like the auction premium and stuff like that. So just over $66,000. Settlement fees on the buy side, about $9,600. That includes all of the points and other loan fees for the hard money loan. Construction a little over $33,000. So when I walked with my contractor, he said it was going to be about $25,000. I added about $2,000 onto that for the appliances. He doesn't do that. I sort that separately. And there were a couple small change orders that I decided on. Like there was like this exterior door that didn't look that bad until we painted everything around. It's like, oh my god, we have to fix that. You know, a few $100 there and a few other little things. And then that roof. So if you take off the thing for the roof, which I said was $5,500, we're actually pretty much right on budget. Interest on the loan, $4,300. Taxes just under $1,800. Insurance $640. Utilities a little over $900. And that is because we carried it at basically through the entire heating season. Interestingly enough, I closed on the property 1 year ago today. So people just started heating their houses, and we sold it on May 1st, so right when people stopped heating their houses. So most of that is just gas over the winter. Like I said, if it was a different 6-month period, that probably would have been like, you know, half that much. Miscellaneous stuff, this is actually that was marketing. Basically before I put it on the market, I bought a bunch of postcards and sent them to like the places sale, $78.50. It was a 5% commission on the net sales price of $157,000. And other settlement fees, which includes the $2,000 credit, or it's $3,400, so about $1,400 aside from the credit. That's the fun part. So the income on it, so the sale price of $159,000. I'm actually a real estate agent. I list this place myself. I usually list with other people because it's a pain and I don't like it and I'm not that good at it. Plus, like, I do stuff in all sorts of towns that I don't. A lot of times, like, the first time I visit a town is when I'm buying a house. So I don't have that, like, intimate local knowledge. I actually knew North Andover a little bit because I'm more near the area where I grew up, and my strategy of underpricing it by $100,000, I didn't think needed any kind of special help with. So I took the commission on that. So basically, this floats over here from my brokerage's half after my broker took his cut. I got about $27.50 out of that. So a total expense is $128,054.43. We made $161,747.50 for a gross profit of $33,693.07 on the house next to the sewer plant. So, summary for flipping a challenging property. You have to buy right. This is always true, but if you have something like this, it's not forgiving. So you have to buy it very well. And if you aren't getting a super deal on it, don't buy it. Actually, when I was researching this, I was just kind of curious. It's like, I wonder when the last time somebody bought a place this cheap in North Andover was. Off of MLS, at least, the last time somebody bought something cheaper, a single-family house in North Andover, was August of 1994. So I got a pretty good deal on it. Obviously, this doesn't include, cash sales and stuff like that. People are sending out your postcards and we buy houses and stuff. Maybe somebody did something cheaper, but the stuff that was on MLS, nobody got it cheaper than that for 20 years. We said, don't over-rehab. You're limited in what you're going to be able to get for it. So if you just start busting your budget, you're not, a lot of times you can get more than $1 for $1 put in. Or at least you're going to be able to sell it faster. Like I said, at the end of the day, if I put granite in that kitchen, it was still across the street from the sewer plant. I don't think I would have gotten any more for it. And I don't think I would have gotten any more offers on it either, to be honest. You want to know your exit strategy? Like I said, as soon as I walked up to that house, I'm like, I have to sell this for $100,000 under what I thought it was going to be worth. So, when the numbers worked for that strategy, it was worth buying. But again, if I was going to try getting the median home price for the town, I would have been screwed. And then, like I said, work with any reasonable offer. You don't know when you're going to get another one. So, like I said, I had over 50 showings. I had 2 offers. So that's not a superb ratio. But I had the foot traffic, and I did get the offers. I tried to work with those first people. They didn't want to work with me. The second people, they were willing to work. Like I said, I did the repairs for them. I gave them the credit. We negotiated a little bit. I got a little bit of money back on the credit, so it worked out pretty well. And so I'd like to end with this. So I would say there's 2 kinds of real estate investors. Those that make a ton of money, and those that give up too soon. So, strive to be the number 1. So, that's my presentation. I don't know how much time. So, any questions?
Any advice about working with contractors and finding contractors?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any advice about finding contractors and working with contractors?
It's not that hard to find contractors.
It's hard to get them to keep coming.
It's hard to find good contractors. It's just make relationships, try to find people who understand. They need to understand the game. They have to understand you're not going to be paying retail. What they're banking on is getting volume. So, the guy who did this for me, I've done like 9 or 10 projects with, plus some like other little things and some rentals I own too. So he understands that, he gives me good pricing. I guess that would be my other piece of advice. When you actually have a good one, cling on to him, and you got to make sure that they don't start taking it for granted, and you get price creep and stuff like that. I mean, that happens too. Even good ones, that might happen. But if you have somebody who's good and understands the game, you definitely want to stick with them and take care of them. You got to keep them honest, but you got to stick with them. Yeah.
Did you actually add heat up in those 2 bedrooms? Have the vent to fully heat from the other bedroom?
So that vent stayed up there, but basically, we covered it up. We put a box over it, and we vented it off to the other 2 bedrooms. So we didn't add anything probably would take a while to like warm up the thing once it started going, but like, you know, it did work and it was adequate. Yep.
Who was the final buyer?
It was a divorcee with two. It was interesting. It was two adults, and she had two like adult children, like young adults, like just graduated high school, early college. Because I really thought it was going to be somebody who, like say, couldn't afford to live in North Andover otherwise, but wanted to get their kids into a better school system than Lawrence. So that's kind of why I was targeting that. Like I said, with those like postcards and stuff, was, you know, because you could buy houses for that kind of price in Lawrence, but then your kids go to Lawrence schools. North Andover was actually pretty decent, so that's kind of what I was thinking, but you know, I wasn't complaining.
Did you say how long it took from beginning to end to buy it and then sell it?
Well, like I said, I bought it exactly 1 year ago today, so October 17th, and I sold it on May 1st, so what's that? About, yeah, like roughly 6 months, and that's usually what I put in for a whole time. But like I said, it was on the market. It was on the market for a little over 2 months, and I actually didn't put it on the market as soon as it was ready because it finished like it was like right around the New Year. It's like I want to say it was like right before the New Year. So I'm just like, you know, it wasn't a good time to put it on, and that's why I kind of did like I did the off the market marketing for like 3 or 4 weeks before I actually put it on. So maybe that was the right thing to do. Maybe it wasn't. I guess I'll say it wasn't because I didn't sell it during that time. Yep.
So you said you've done about 10 deals, and this one was from auction.com. What else do you like as a source of purchase?
I've actually done a lot of stuff with HUD. That's actually been my best source of stuff up to this point. It's been dry for a while, though. I haven't gotten anything in a while, but I've probably bought not just flips, but also stuff that I wholesaled and some rentals that we kept. I want to say we probably bought like 10 HUD properties, so that's gone pretty good. I actually bought another one off of auction.com, which is currently on the market. If anybody wants to live in a really nice house in Sturbridge, come talk to me. And some other stuff at auction. To be honest, like I'm starting to do marketing for motivated sellers because, you know, up to this point I've been pretty lucky and been able to get a lot of stuff off MLS and auctions and stuff like that, but have not gotten anything for a while, so I'm working that at those ankles now, so those more traditional ones.
And how do you get stuff from HUD? What's that mean?
So, you know, basically, HUD foreclosures are basically like foreclosures on FHA loans that you know, they take back since they're guaranteed by the government. They go into like the you know, Department of Housing or Development's portfolio, and there's like a special bidding process that you have to do for them. It's like they're like REOs, but they're owned by the government, and like you have to submit bids through a HUD registered agent through their special website. My brokerage is actually HUD registered, so I just put in my own offers, which is something that's actually been good to me because I've put in thousands of offers that I probably would not have been able to put in if I had to depend on somebody else to do it for me. I mean, literally thousands and thousands of offers, and I've looked at very few of the houses, as I mentioned.
Last one more. How did you do it part-time before you did it full-time?
Not well. So when I was part-time, that's when we were acquiring rentals, and said that, you know, good things and bad things with that. I always kind of wanted to get into like the wholesaling and flipping, and you know, I rushed to the back of the room here or there, but never really like got started with it. Like I know people who flip part-time, and you can do it. It's just I wasn't. But so when I lost my job, that's when I decided, like, you know, I've always wanted to do this. I'm not going to have another better opportunity, because if I go and get another job, I'm just going to fall into the same rut I was before. So let's give this a go, and if I can do it, I can do it, and I did it. So it was good, because I didn't like jobs.
John, how do you typically determine your maximum offer?
So I try to take a conservative ARV. If you didn't hear this, then how do I determine my max offer? So, I mean, I do this, you know, it's a fairly standard thing you see in all the books and websites and stuff, you know, a Mayo formula. I try to take a fairly conservative ARV. I do 65%, so a slightly bigger discount than what you hear sometimes. A lot of times you hear 70. and then I subtract off my repairs. And I said, you know, as I said, I don't actually look at a lot of these properties beforehand, so I take the stance that everything's broken until somebody tells me it's not. So I come up with these like really high, like I said, for this place I was at like $68,000 before I actually saw the property. That's what I was using to bid my numbers. Now, I also had a $220,000 conservative ARV too, so, you know, that balanced out. But that's why I do a lot of bidding, like I said, and see, because I'm looking for a counteroffer. I don't actually think they're going to accept most of this stuff. I just want to see who's willing to play ball, and then I'll go look at the property and come up with some tighter numbers. So anyway, so I take it, so 60 conservative ARV, 65% of that, less repairs, and then I usually start at about 90% of that, so I have a little room to go up.
Was that auction.com, was there a window of time after you made an offer when you put it back out, since it was tighter?
I don't think so. Like, because like to even register for the auction, I had to let them put a $2,500 hole in my credit card. So I think if I had backed out of it, I probably would have lost that, but I wouldn't. But I wanted to see it before I had to wire them the rest of the deposit. So I probably would have been out on that. So that one's a little more dangerous. But like I said, it looked like a really good deal, so I didn't want to have that potential loss to hold me up.
Any lessons you've learned about being a landlord and renting?
Being a landlord? There's pluses and minuses. When the tenants aren't calling you and complaining about stuff and they're actually paying their rent, it's great. When those other things happen, not as great. You know, it's hard to give tips and tricks for stuff like that. It's all about, for the most part, it really is about screening. If you get good tenants, you're going to have a pretty good experience. If you get bad tenants, you're not going to have as good of an experience. There's always going to be things that come up with anyone, but you know, for the most part, that's really what it comes down to.
Yep. The North End number one, do you feel like you sort of lucked out that you were able to salvage so much of the bathroom and the kitchen? I feel like without those, the margin would be much thinner.
Yeah, you know, that's true. If the kitchen was a full gut and the bathroom was a full gut, and you know, if I had to do other upgrades, like we didn't really touch the electrical, we didn't really have to touch the plumbing at all. You know, as I said, probably in most circumstances I would have done the heating system, but we didn't have to. You know, we checked, like, all the plumbing was working. There was no, like, knob and tube. There was older wiring, but there wasn't any knob and tube. It was circuit breakers, you know, like, you know, stuff that you expect. If I had those kind of major problems or had to do, like, you know, a major kitchen redo or, like, redo the bathroom or stuff, the numbers probably would not have worked. So that's why I said, like, okay, it's why you say you have to understand the exit strategy. So, like, knowing that it's what my ARV was going to be once I got there and know that it came way, 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 way down. I had to, you know, we walked through with that lens, looking at the rehab, and that's where we were able to figure out, you know, that it was going to work. So yeah, if it wasn't like I said, you know, the upstairs was pretty bad with all those rooms and the terrible carpet and smelling like piss and all that stuff. But yeah, the downstairs was pretty good. The bathroom wasn't that, you know, the bathroom was ugly, but it was pretty functional. The kitchen actually wasn't, like, we actually didn't do much at all in the kitchen. It was just like there was, you know, it needed some toe kicks, it needed like some molding on the top, it needed to be painted, we fixed the light fixture and did the appliances. For the most part, that was it. And the bathroom, like I said, we didn't do much. We replaced some of the tiles were cracked and stuff, but it was like a very common one, so we actually matched it very easily. And we, like I said, recolored the existing stuff. Painted, that was pretty much it there, a couple new fixtures. But yeah, if we needed to do significantly more work than we did, it wouldn't have been worth it. What else? All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.